All right. Well, the VR wars are ramping up, and we've got big release updates for both PlayStation VR 2 and the next Meta slash Facebook slash Oculus headset. So the PlayStation VR 2 release window, which was updated on social media, has been announced that the PSVR 2 is coming out in early 2023. We've been drip feeding information over time, and most recently detailing their fancy new interface features covered in episode 90. So I am very much looking forward to this PSVR 2, albeit, in our, final wrap up of the show, there are little headwinds that make me a bit nervous about how much it's going to be priced.
Yeah, I've said it before, and I'll reiterate that I've been looking to get into the VR game for a while, and the unfortunate thing is just like we'll talk about Meta in a second.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want anything to do with that company in terms of buying their products and
Yeah.
stuff. And as much as they're probably the value for money, like the Quest 2 and everything.
Yeah.
So the PSVR 2 is definitely on my horizon. And as a plug and play gamer, and it's just makes sense for me to just go, okay, just plug this into my PlayStation, and then that's all I have to do to really, and the room setup part of it.
Yeah.
But yeah, like early 2023. So when are we thinking? We thinking March, April? What are we?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, like I'm thinking like Feb, March, personally. Like I think that period of time. I think that they were probably pushing for Christmas, like November, and they just weren't able to hit it from a production perspective with all the, issues in China and rah, rah, rah. Like there's so much shit going on. But yeah, man, like the pricing makes me really nervous because like in Australia, definitely the Meta Quest 2, Oculus Quest 2 was so fairly, like it was ridiculously priced, to be fair. It was like $480 ish Australian. Now it's like 630. And now I'm like 630. It's like, oh, I don't think I would buy one. And now I look at the PlayStation VR 2 and I'm like, shit, and then in some news that we'll talk about a little later, I'm like, oh man, this thing could genuinely cost like $700. I don't know if I'm going for it for 700, dude. Like that's a lot of money.
Yeah, and I'm trying to think how far into the PS4's life cycle did the original PSVR launch?
Oh,
because was it potentially an equivalent to the time that the PS5 has been around, or was it further along? What I'm getting at is the install base size, because we know that obviously there's a lot of PS5s out there, but there's still a lot of people that can't get their hands on one.
yeah.
And I'm just wondering, like the price is obviously a big hurdle, but there's a lot of people out there that probably would buy the PSVR 2, but they can't even get their hands on the actual PS5 itself as well.
Oh yeah, for sure. Like you feel bad for folks that couldn't get it, and then now it's been priced higher, which we'll talk about later. But it was 3 years. I just checked it then, so 3 years after. So this is going to be 2 years. Wait, actually,
yeah, just over 2 years. Yeah.
Wait, was it 2019 or 2020 that the consoles came out?
I just think we did a 1 year like special on
2020 they came out. 2020.
Yeah.
So yeah, 2 years. So shorter. Yeah, it's a good point. It'll be shorter. But the one thing interesting. There'll be more games to play, right? Because I'm assuming all the PSVR games will be compatible with PSVR 2. That would be pretty crazy if they're not.
I really hope so, because
that would be really crazy.
I'd still want to try like Moss and
same.
Astrobot VR, and there's a bunch of cool games. So
and shit, you know what? To be honest, I never thought about that. Like, I don't know if I've ever seen them confirm that the new one will be compatible with all the old games. That would be really dopey if it's not. Like, I don't know what the reason would be if they couldn't. Shit, you made me worry now. And then the other sort of VR news that's coming out, our favorite company, Facebook, are releasing MetaQuest Pro, which is under the project name Cambria. And Mark Zuckerberg, the Meta CEO, let it slip by accident, pretty much, on the Joe Rogan podcast when he was talking about VR and all these kind of things, and basically say, hey, this new, more advanced headset's coming out in October. So everyone's like, oh, okay, well, I mean, he's not going to get that wrong. So yeah, it's pretty incredible. So it's interesting and a lot more expensive than the current one.
Yeah, they've got a Meta. I guess it's called Meta Connect. They've got an event in October, and they
Yeah.
specifically said that they're talking about it there. So we will have a specific. It's not that they're going to drop it out of nowhere next month. So it's again like to reiterate what I said during the previous note is, you know, I'm not going to buy anything from them, but
No.
I'm super interested to know how this stuff goes because it will shape not only, you know, we're a gaming podcast, but what Meta is doing could potentially shape the actual like working world and the business world and stuff. And like that impacts anyone that's, you know, that does a job. We sit in front of a computer, you know. So
Yeah. I am absolutely not a buyer in that stuff that we're all going to be like, I struggle to get my team to come on video sometimes with stuff, right? The idea of people strapping in a headset on their head, and who's paying for that headset, by the way, right?
yeah.
And like I can't even get a good laptop, right? Like at work, right? Like they want to get the most bare bones laptop to me. I just don't see it. Like I think there's nothing there. Meta to me has wasted like $1 billion, like $10 billion. That's how much they spent, dude. Spent $10 billion on VR efforts and metaverse efforts last year in one single year. $10 billion. It's like like where are they pissing that money up the wall? Like give me some of it. But yeah, like I'm not a buyer in it, but you know, with everything said, I have to give credit to Zuckerberg and like I guess appreciation that they have totally lifted the bar in VR stuff. And I'm not saying like purely from a technology perspective, but the fact that just general people I talk to have like a Oculus Quest 2 or a Meta Quest 2, and I think like from a pricing perspective, it made it more realistic. So like I'm sure even with the price increase, PlayStation is kind of like, shit, we've got to price this in this realm, or else it just like how are we gonna get it off the ground?
Yeah, and you know, the test for me is always like speak to colleagues at work who, you know, aren't into
Yes,
gaming and
yes,
stuff, and ask them, okay, well, what do you know about VR? They're not going to know what the HTC Vive is or the Valve
no,
Index is, but they're probably going to know what that Meta does VR headsets. You know, whether
yeah,
or not they know the exact names. And go, oh yeah, Facebook, Meta, oh they do VR headsets. You know, oh if I'm going to look for one, maybe I'll just check them out. You know,
yeah,
so
for
they
sure.
definitely have moved the needle in that regards. It's still far from a mainstream thing, of course, but yeah, it'd be interesting what this ends up being and how much it costs. So
Yeah, and it's gonna have like facial recognition, like gesture recognition, and you know, like there's a whole rabbit hole we won't get into around some of the posts from Zuckerberg around the new Meta Connect versus Horizon, and like how shitty the little, you know, selfie that he shared looked. Like absolutely trash, like so bad. It's like almost so bad that it's like an elaborate joke, right? That in October when they reveal it, everyone's going to be like, "Holy shit, look how amazing this is." That was just a big joke that he posted before. But we both know he's not like that. So it's like there's no way he's doing it like that. It's like that is what they have so far, which is just it looks like from the Wii. It's so insane how bad it looks. So
all I just want to know is how good are the bottles of Sweet Baby Ray's barbecue sauce going to look in Facebook Horizons or Meta Horizons or whatever.
I gotta say, like, I want to check out what the time is that they're streaming the Oculus, the Meta event, because last year's one was so funny. Like, if it's a reasonable time, dude, I'd be up to stream it because it was so funny. I literally watched the entire thing because it was so fucking goddamn
It
funny. And there was actually gaming news. That was where Resident Evil 7 VR was announced.
it could be a really good cringe reaction.
It's cringe reaction. Cringe reaction, exactly. So yeah, when they announced the date for that Horizon, whatever it's going to be called, that's going to be interesting. That's going to be interesting. Maybe you should cover the next one because I got a lot to say on the following story.